So for our final topic, we have a list from viewers like you of questions that you would like answered, and you commented these on our last discussion video. So to start off, our first question comes from Rafael Diaz asks, will the Happy Mask Salesman be in Breath of the Wild?
Ooh, good question. I hope so.
Before you guys go on answering this, remember, during the Miiverse question interview thing with the Happy Mask Salesman to promote Majora's Mask, he said he would be returning.
Ooh.
So
I was gonna mention that. Yeah.
Okay. It was just, it happened so long ago. I didn't know if everybody remembered.
But yeah, actually, I really hope he does, based off of that Miiverse thing. But I could see him coming back in possibly a handheld game, or maybe even another version of Hyrule Warriors. I'm surprised they didn't bring him in as DLC character for Hyrule Warriors, but
yeah, like if they brought Tingle of all people, but
right?
But like no Happy Mask Salesman.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Tyler? Because when I first thought of that interview, I expected, Grezzo, the people that remade Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and then I think they've helped out on Triforce Heroes as well with some of the dungeons. I presumed that Nintendo seen what they did with Ocarina of Time and how big of a success it was, and then the remake of Majora's Mask, they had even more freedom because they were able to add in not just one but two of the fishing ponds, and then they changed some of the layout of Clock Town, and like the Deku Link and I think the Zora Link, was some of their stuff was changed a little bit. So with them getting more freedom in Majora's Mask, I expected them, or Nintendo, to go to them and be like, hey, you obviously know what you're doing with the engine from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Why don't you take these same assets and make a third Hero of Time game or a new Zelda game with this engine? And that was where we would be seeing the Happy Mask Salesman Return. But Grezzo ended up working on a game completely different from the Zelda series. So the only game in development that we know of officially is Breath of the Wild. So I think maybe it's a possibility, but then, like, how would he be introduced in it, and what use would masks have in that game? I thought Triforce Heroes would have been a perfect game for it, since clothing was such a huge option for it. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Tyler?
In Breath of the Wild, they might be able to fit him in some way, but with the, I guess, emphasis on adventure and this being a lot more like the original Zelda, I feel like he's likely not to be in this game. As much as I want him to appear, it's not gonna. No, I imagine Grezzo would work, or some other company, I don't know, sort of like what Capcom did back in the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance generations, where they make technically third-party Zelda games, and we might get a Majora's Mask 2 or something that brings in new masks, sort of thing, where he is in fact there.
Yeah, I guess I'm the same way. Like, I would love for him to be in Breath of the Wild, but I just don't see it, especially from all the trailers and everything we've seen. We haven't seen an official town yet, so I don't really know where a Happy Mask shop could fit in, or he's known as a traveling salesman, so maybe he's just wandering around the world, but then, like, I guess that would be cool if you had a shop kind of like Beetle, to where he just flies around or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if it was just another section on Beetle Shop, that could make sense. But I realistically don't see him being in the game. But our next question comes from Lil Moody, who asks, will Breath of the Wild Link get the Hero's Tunic? So, yeah. Will Link get the traditional green tunic in Breath of the Wild? And if so, how do you think it would be possible?
I'm not 100% on this, but I swear in an interview with someone who was working on the game that the traditional heroes clothing wouldn't be in the game. I could be extremely wrong with this. I'm only vaguely remembering this, but if it is in the game, it might be one of like those secret things you find, just because this seems like a Link failed timeline, and just especially him waking up from stasis or whatever that is, and just coming out and, oh look, there's nothing. There's all this land and all these ruins. So.
Alright. What about your thoughts on this, Rick? Do you think the green tunic will be obtainable?
I think it will be obtainable. I think it's either going to be something that is optional, or it's going to be something where you get the Master Sword or something, and in that specific area you can find also the Hero's Tunic. Or maybe it's more like how the Hylian Shield is in Skyward Sword, where you actually have to do that trial in order to get the Hylian Shield. Because as we can see, the clothing have status effects now. So it can either warm you up, cool you down, or vice versa, or, you know, different effects during sandstorms and stuff like that. So we might see something more akin to that than anything. And then it just being the end-all be-all clothing, you know, it just protects you from everything.
Yeah, I agree with you on the status abilities that I could add, but instead of being able to find it, I believe that it would be more of a reward, in the sense that what I always use in my theory on this is the spirit orbs that you get from completing each of the shrines. The Sheikah member at the end says that something along the lines of, "You've proven yourself to be a hero. Here, take this spirit orb. I've been waiting for you." And I think if there is 100 shrines in it or more, however many there are, once you collect all 100 or however many of those spirit orbs, and you prove yourself to be the hero to all of the different members of the Sheikah tribe, then as a reward, you are rewarded with the Hero's Tunic for basically proving yourself to be the hero. And then lately I've thought of it even further, to whereas a lot of people think that this Link is a resurrected, or McIntyre Productions has a new theory out where he theorizes that this Link could be a clone of the Hero of Time. So if this hero is resurrected or a clone of the Hero of Time, then maybe by collecting the spirit orbs, and I believe we see them go inside you, so maybe by the end, and after you've collected all of them, you basically have the spirit, or the hero's spirit, inside you, or at least prove to be. So to get the traditional hero's clothing, I think would just make sense. And then you would get it so far late into the game that it wouldn't necessarily take any of the fun or difficulty out, because in order to have beaten all 100 shrines, then you would need to be like 90 to 95% done with the game, or at least you would think so. So getting it so late in the game, just like the Master Sword, or the Hylian Shield in Skyward Sword, you get it depending on when you complete the Lanayru province the second time, and you do the minigame challenge where you defeat the bosses with the dragon. You can get it so late in the game that it doesn't necessarily take away the difficulty from you, or from your shields breaking, or the status effects that would come with the shields, like certain ones would catch on fire or electrocute you. And in the same way with Rick, I believe that the green tunic would be the same as the Hylian Shield, to where it wouldn't have any bad effects. So you'd be able to go in the snow as long as possible. You would be able to take the heat of Death Mountain without having to switch tunics, possibly even swim deep under the water, or have unlimited sprint. I think any of those could be possible with the hero's tunic. And then our last... Wait, first of all, do any of you have anything else to add to that, or...
Other than if it had unlimited sprint, I would try and get that as soon as possible.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't just go with sprint, the stamina, like, doesn't it affect your climbing and everything else?
Yeah.
And I think if you, in the game, if you swing your weapon, does that take away some of your stamina too, or is that just in Skyward Sword?
I think if you do the spin attack, it does.
Yeah. I think it might affect with a claymore or whatever. It might. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked at any of the footage on that.
All right. Our last question comes from Waker Pro, who asks, where do you think this game will fit in the timeline? And this could go on for a long time, so just give a quick answer, because I'm sure most of us have already talked about this before.
I honestly think it takes place in the Fallen Hero timeline.
Yep.
Alright, so we're all in agreement.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing that somebody would bring up is, don't the Koroks prove that it's in the child time or the adult timeline with Wind Waker?
No, because in Wind Waker, they even stated that the Kakariko can choose whatever form they want. So in theory, in the Heroes Fallen timeline, the Kakariko still could have turned into the Koroks.
Alright. And one thing I would like to add, I never seen this. I remember someone commenting it on a video or sending it to me on Twitter, that in A Link Between Worlds, which is in the Downfall timeline, there is a picture on a wall, either in Link's house or someone's house, of a Korok.
I think it's in Link's house.
So,
I remember seeing it in the game.
Yeah. So for that picture to exist, then the Koroks need to exist outside of just the Wind Waker's timeline. And of course, like I've said earlier, I believe this Link is either a reincarnation or McIntyre's theory, a clone. What I think happened is this Link is in the end of Ocarina of Time, when Link supposedly dies. Every time that you kill Ganondorf in a Zelda game, you don't necessarily kill Ganondorf, you give the final blow, and then he's sealed somewhere. Or at least in Ocarina of Time, and then in Twilight Princess, he's sealed in the Twilight Realm or whatever. And maybe before Link died, or before Ganondorf did the ending blow on him, the sages, instead of sealing Ganondorf, sealed Link. And then this Chamber of Resurrection was their way of bringing Link back to their world, or healing him enough to come back. And that's where I think the game falls, in between Ocarina of Time and A Link to the Past.
Yep.
Alright, so I think that's it for this episode. So why don't you guys once again let everybody know who you are and where to find you, and I will be right back.
You want to go ahead and go first, Rick?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go. Again, I'm Rick, also known as RMFH, and you guys can find me on YouTube, obviously, and on Twitter at RMFH Gaming. Go ahead, Tyler.
All right. Once again, I'm GBC Tyler. You can find me on YouTube. Just look up GBC Tyler, and on Twitter at GBC Tyler. Pretty simple.
Alright, you guys give your outro?
Yep.
Alright, and I'll have to edit this in before that. But for everybody watching, thank you so much. And if you have any questions that you would like answered on our next episode with different guests, then go ahead and give your questions in the comments below and let me know if you would like Tyler or Rick to be brought back on the next episode, or which new guests you would like to see. And thank you all once again. What's up everyone, this is Jesse and welcome to the Inslate. I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you're a fan of my Zelda or gaming news, theory, or discussion videos like this, please consider supporting this channel by donating through patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can get new videos early, be able to join on discussion or theory videos, get shoutouts, and tons of other great rewards. Thank you all so much for allowing me to do this, watching my videos, and especially you Alex Myers, Jonathan, The Itch Network, and John Frank for your support on Patreon.